time to roll out some headlines from across the state of Texas. We will start in the Texas high school football coaching world, and the biggest headline probably of the past week. We talked briefly about it on Thursday, but it's worth spending a little bit of time on it, and that is that Hutto has made a hire. You may remember what happened at Hutto. Brad LaPlante was the head coach there at Hutto. He decided to move into an AD-only role, at which point Will Compton moved into the head coaching role. Okay? You with me so far?
Yeah.
Will Compton, then what happened is that Brad LaPlante left to become the athletic director at Montgomery ISD. Will Compton moves up to be the athletic director at Hutto ISD, which leaves a vacancy for the head coaching position. And they have gone and made a very, very splashy hire to be their next head coach. It will be Eli Reinhardt will be the next head coach of the Hutto Hippos. Eli Reinhardt is the Dave Campbell's Texas football offensive coordinator of the year after what he did at North Crowley, averaging more than 50 points per game and leading them to a 6A Division I state championship. Went 42-2 as the offensive during his time as offensive coordinator under Ray Gates. He is a Michigan guy, and he comes from a coaching family. His dad, Dennis Reinhardt, is actually in the Michigan High School Hall of Fame, and he began as an assistant in college under his father. Then after graduating from Saginaw Valley State, he went to Ferris State University, bounced around a couple of places before moving to Texas in 2021, where he was on the staff at Austin Anderson, before then moving over to become the offensive coordinator there at North Crowley, and obviously things went well there. Here is a spoiler alert for you. We do our annual 40 under 40 coaches who are the best young coaches in Texas. I would say that Eli Reinhardt is probably going to be in the mix for one of those spots. He is one of the bright young offensive minds. He is a ball-knowing dude, and he's going to get an opportunity to be the head coach there at Hutto. Very splashy hire, and Hutto is also a place we've talked about. They are used to slinging it around, and they are used to big-time offenses and dynamic offenses. So this kind of fits with the culture there as well. So this feels like a real home run hire here. Eli Reinhardt is going to be the next head coach at Hutto, leaving North Crowley, where he was their offensive coordinator. Next, let's talk about down to the San Antonio area, where outside of San Antonio in Kerrville Tivy is looking for a new head coach. That is after their head coach has stepped down. Kerrville Tivy looking for a new head coach. As if I could find it, David Jones has resigned after 13 seasons there with the Antlers. Carl Padilla, the Padilla poll, first reported this. He went 129-72 at Tivy, but he has stepped down. He was a guy. He's from originally started from Louisiana, then moved to Oklahoma before taking over there. He was an assistant at Allen under Todd Graham. Kind of bounced around. He was the first ever head coach there at Cy Woods before he took the job there with Kerrville Tivy, where he's been for the last 13 seasons. So Kerrville Tivy is open. A very interesting program that, of course, has had some big names come through there. Obviously, Johnny Manziel, a Kerrville Tivy alum. This is a job to keep an eye on, especially because you want to keep an eye on them on their enrollment number. They are a very small 5A Division II team, and there is a universe in which they drop to 4A. And if they were to drop to 4A, they're in the Hill Country, presumably Region 4. Just keep an eye on that, right? I think that Kerrville Tivy is going to be a very attractive job down there, as David Jones has resigned after 13 seasons at the helm of Kerrville Tivy. Finally, in the coaching world, let's talk about Edgewood. At the 3A ranks, Edgewood is making a move. They have needed a new head coach, and they are getting a relatively big name. The head coach of the Howard Payne Yellow Jackets is leaving the college ranks to go take over at Edgewood. Kevin Bachtel is taking over at Edgewood. He is returning to the high school ranks. He's a guy who is the former coach at Edgewood. He went 40-17 in 5 seasons there before jumping to the college ranks. He kind of rose through the ranks, became the head coach there at Howard Payne, and now he's going to go back to the high school football ranks. He's joined them as their defensive coordinator in 2021 before becoming their next head coach there in 2022 after his brother, Jason Bachtel, went to go at Houston Christian. He got promoted eventually to a head coaching job. This is a fascinating move here because it opens up a college spot here in the Texas high school or in Texas. Howard Payne now looking for a head coach. And our Corey Hogue, our non-FBS insider, who's been all over this. The Howard Payne is in the American Southwest Conference, and the American Southwest Conference is going through all sorts of turmoil right now. Howard Payne is a really interesting job, and I'm interested to see where they end up landing. Edgewood has their new head coach, though, as Kevin Bachtel will be the once and future head coach there at Howard Payne. Elsewhere in headlines, we've got some 7-on-7 news. That's right. On February 10th, we have 7-on-7 news. Specifically, we got a schedule. So mark your calendars. Everybody get your Palm Pilots out. Mm-hmm. Okay. We have the state 7-on-7 tournament will be held June 26th through 28th at Veterans Park in College Station. That's where it's been for quite some time since they moved from Round Rock. They will be in the June 26th to 28th there in College Station, the state 7-on-7 tournament. That is, I will tell you, that's not a surprise. That is usually, if you get out the calendar, it's usually the last weekend in June. Yeah. And so this is in fact the last weekend in June. We've also got all the state qualifying tournaments up on TexasFootball.com. We're the official site for the state 7-on-7 around the state of Texas. Go check that out, as you can see who will have opportunities to qualify and where. It is the state 7-on-7 tournament, June 26th through 28th. We will, of course, have team coverage here on TexasFootball.com. And finally, Ashley Pickle, let's talk a little bit about Super Bowl 59. We talked about it in the pre-show. The headline here from our perspective was you had two Texan quarterbacks squaring off. You have yet another Texas high school football product who is the MVP, right? As Jalen Hurts wins the Super Bowl MVP. Our own Mike Craven had a
really cool stat.
A good stat. He becomes the sixth Texan to win Super Bowl MVP, joining Harvey Martin, Drew Brees, Von Miller, Nick Foles, and Patrick Mahomes. It's also the sixth time a Texan has won it since 2009 because Mahomes has won it 3 times. So Jalen Hurts, of course, a Channelview product, played under his father, Avarian Hurts, down there at Channelview. I'm sure there's a party in Channelview today as he showed out there. I also saw this. Jordan, I think it's Mailata, he plays on the offensive line for the Eagles. He's the first Australian to ever win a Super Bowl.
Oh, wow.
So my friends in Australia.
I was going to say, and he's not a kicker.
Not a kicker. I know, right? That's the real upset. Is that he's like an offensive lineman.
Yeah, we could have put everything that we owned on that, and we would have been wrong.
Yes. And so, yeah, there's a lot of Texan flavor out there in Super Bowl, but obviously Jalen Hurts as the MVP is going to get a lot of the headlines there. Nick Bolton there for the Chiefs was probably one of their better defenders. I know it didn't go particularly well for the Chiefs.
Well, and Xavier Worthy was a UT player, so and he talk about one of the only bright spots for the Chiefs.
Samaje Perine got in late in the game. He's a Texas high school football product. So anyway, it was fun to keep an eye on the Texans there. Tristan McCollum got in there. Jalix Hunt, who is a non-FBS Texas product, got in there and I believe had a sack in that game. So exciting times there as the Philadelphia Eagles win Super Bowl 59, and yet another Texan is the Super Bowl MVP. Those are all the headlines from across the state of Texas.